back to Reaper Pro Tips, where the internet is actually maybe working today. I'm your host, Anne, and we have disembodied hands, Quindy, Justin, and sometimes even John. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. I checked it a minute ago, and it was actually stellar. So let's pet the internet gently and say, good internet, good internet. Yeah, last week was suck. Last week was really bad. I was very sad. I was a very, very sad Anne. We're going to try to work on this lovely Harefolk. Oof. Yeah. So how was everybody's weekend? I'm going to look up a reference picture while we talk. Because internet. And let's see here. So we're painting a natural creature. Well, an unnatural natural creature. And it's good to have pictures. Because I have a very handsome hair picture. It's a very, very, very handsome beastie. Very handsome. So that's what we're going to try to do. That's why we're starting so dark. And this is actually a mixed color. Actual minis. Great. Yay. Good, Kerniko. Oh, hey, and that's awesome. Like, that's the good side effect, right? HM Road Dog, if you have to isolate, at least you always have mini painting. Short week for you, D. Clearman? Ah. Still mostly healthy? Good, good, good. To make your con save. So yeah, so my base coat here, and I am going to do a little bit of touch-up, I think, is about a 4 rich leather, 1 blackened brown, and like 1 pure white. And I like to start darker with fur texture that has like lighter hairs in it. You always kind of want to look at it and see what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a light undercoat with darker hairs over it, or if you look at this hair, the hair of this hair, you will see that there definitely is some lighter ticking in there. So that's why I'm starting with this dark color. Essentially, I was mixing something that would give me this shadow, and then I'm going to tick lighter color. You can even see it on the forehead. This is a lovely picture. When you're painting animals, it helps if you can get something like this, a very high-res, very big picture, so you can really see the details on the model. So yeah, that is what we're going to try to do. Only missed it by 2. Con saves while you're at the con. Yes. Oh, that's right, because you're going to LVO, right? Yeah, hi, Raven Day. Yeah, that's kind of why I decided to paint it, as I knew that many people really, really liked it, and I liked it too, and I got one in my... I actually placed a Reaper order specifically, because I could have done it at any time, but I liked this mini. And I thought it would be a good subject for the show. So that's why we're here. But yeah, I had base coated her because I did a video on fur for her for my Patreon. But I definitely have a good start then, and that cuts down on our work time. Oh, this is not white. This is brush on sealer. Brush on sealer, go back to your hole. There. I was trying to sneak in and corrupt our process. Where did I put my... Oh... I put my pure white in a different place. Well then, no pure white for us. Bleached linen is next best. Thank you for the link to my Patreon, Quindy. Yeah, there's lots of hairs that change color, I think. And the snowshoe hairs are like one of them, right? So I think it's the snowshoe ones that turn white. But that is, I think that's a European, it's one of the European hairs. Let's see. What are you, little hair? Oh, it doesn't actually say. It might be Arizona, though. It looks kind of in a deserty place. I'm sure that, depending on climate, they change greatly. But I like the color pattern on that one. Like, I could do a white one, but it wouldn't be as cool, I think. I really like doing patterns on animals, so. That's why I chose this. So that is our little mix there. We're going to mix it up. We had paint club here yesterday, local paint club, and a couple people actually came. And I think we'll start getting more as the plague recedes, I hope. Because it's fun to have people over. for the first time in our new house. And darn it. Okay, I do have to go get my pure white because I also took my my bottle of water and put it in the other room. 1 second, everybody. 1 sec. Hashtag unprepared. Like 16 bottles of pure white, but of course I can't like lay hands on them at any given time. I have to go digging. Ah, there we go. Hey, Roger, thank you. 17 months. Awesome. Excellent. So, Harefolk. This is a Bones USA, of course. We were just talking about Bones USA actually to one of our friends yesterday who had not tried it. I'm going to thin this about a 4-to-1. We'll see how it goes. I want to get, I've got some colored, I just need to get, like, I've got some color deviation and also an uneven coat on her face. And so I want to make sure I'm starting with a good base. Nice solid base. I'm going to use my new base coat brush. And thank you, Bergala, for the resubs. Resubs for 7 months. Sweet. Lucky number 7. Ooh, that's right. I remember. My black and brown goes quite dark. This is why you only want to use, this is where you really see kind of the war of pigments, guys. Like how some pigments are weaker and some pigments are much stronger. The black that's in black and brown, it's actually built in a black base. And so when you drop that into a yellow, which is such a weak color, because rich leather, you know, has a lot of yellow pigment in it, then you see it really, really, like only 1 drop of black and brown, and that really hit that hard. So I'm going to bring in a couple more drops of my rich leather. Big gloopy drops. To bring it a little bit more golden and a little bit more lighter, and that's about right. I can work with that. And the white serves purely to kind of make it also a little bit lighter, and also to, there we go, there's my color. Also to make it a little higher coverage, because I know that the rich leather is a little bit more transparent, and that's great, and I'll want to utilize that quality later on in the painting process, but right now I need coverage. So, morning crows. The legends are true. Walnut brown is amazing. I'm amazed that you didn't have one before. So yeah, what we're going to do is base coat this baby. I just need to make sure, I think I've got pretty much, I know where all of her, yeah, she's mostly got short sleeves and then she's got the pants there. So yes, sometimes when I base coat models for my Patreon, I don't necessarily put like a very even coat over the whole thing because I'm trying to go fast and get to the video. I think I actually could go with a little bit more water on this. When you're base coating, you really don't ever want to see brush strokes or have your paint be too thick. You'd rather have your paint covered decently, but still be good to self-level. So like self-leveling is when you can drag a brush through it and it flows back together really well. So after that drop of water, it flows back together instantly pretty much. So that's what I want to see. When I have a base coat, is I want to see that instant flow together, because that means as I put the paint on the model, it is going to naturally not want to leave brush strokes. It's going to want to flatten out. That's what I mean when I say self-leveling. And I just find that that gives me a much smoother base coat. I'm beyond relieved that the internet was so nice this morning when I looked at it. I was like, yay, so let's hope it sticks. I think Comcast like sensed me looking up all their complaint numbers and emails yesterday. I had it open on my browser. I kept it open on my browser because I'm like, if they pull this today, I am on the phone. Because I cannot work like this. It's like, you are directly impacting my work. Stop it. Stop it, or we're changing to AT&T Fios. But we appear to be okay. So I must have heard my threats over the ether. Boot. Paint right over that because I'm going to do it a little different next time. Now, the back of the ears on a lot of hairs have significant black on them. So we'll see what we end up doing with this hair. Ah, gaps of MSP, huh? I see. Muddy brown is discontinued? Or do you mean muddy soil? There's two different muddies. One of them is discontinued. I would be shocked if muddy brown is 9028. Is it discontinued? Yeah, okay. Probably walnut Thoramel, either walnut or black and brown. It's the muddy soil was a little bit more muted. So you might find that you might get a better result by mixing like black and brown or walnut with a little bit of a very dark gray, like carbon gray maybe, which is a really dark gray. Just to mute it just a little bit, or maybe even with a drop of a tan or beige. Because muddy soil, I really did go out and look at the color of the muddy soil near us and try to duplicate it. It's a really dark color, dark muted brown. So I would say start with one of these two because even though they're a little bit richer than the muddy soil, they're very high coverage. They're really solid colors. And they are a nice dark brown. I usually, honestly, when I undercoat like darker soils where I'm going to be layering up like richer browns or grays over the top of the soil, I do start with walnut. Yeah, I did a soil and mud colors triad, and of course, I always tell you guys that if it's later in the line, it's more in danger of cancellation because it's just nobody sees it ever. So there are a lot of paints later on in the line that might have been useful, but nobody ever knew about, and so we didn't get time to talk about them on the Patreon, and so we didn't get a chance to plug them, unlike Carbon Gray, which I'm plugging all the time. Just getting the color on the hair here, even the lighter parts, because it's just, I think, a little more convenient. This is a nice solid base coat. You can see how solid that is. Hey, Thoramel. Yeah, but if you ran out of muddy soil, you could totally just tune a walnut or blackened into something that would work just as well. I just wanted to do like a little bit more muted of a dirt triad that looked more like actual dirt. Muddy brown itself, 9028, is a lighter brown. Like it's still a dark brown, but it's a lighter dark brown. I would call it a mid dark. And it's a good thing to go over the top of muddy soil with to bring up more richer tones, like clay in your soil. Oh no, Reaper Store. Hey, did we shove our bad internet off on Reaper? Like, I mean, I'd feel kind of sad, but not really, because that was really frustrating last week, and I don't want to have it happen again for a while. Even if the Reaper Store has to suffer a little. So maybe Reaper is cursed and not me then. That's always a relief, right? When you think you're cursed, but it's actually somebody else you're just affiliated with. So sometimes the curse will sit on them instead of you. Alrighty, I think we got a nice solid base color here. Then it's time to do some fun stuff. I think first I want to figure out what dark spots I have on the coat, and then I'm going to work up. So I'm going to grab some walnut. Yeah, I was just thinking I would do some brown stuff after the Pentad for purples next month. Because there are so many different browns, and I've covered like the weird browns from Bones, but I haven't really like covered some of our staples and talked about them, and just some of the foundational browns and things like that. So maybe I'll do that. Oh, is it Reaper website update? Alrighty, let's do some black and brown. Since we used black and brown on Ms. Hair, we can, in this mix, we can use it again to bring in dark markings. Or actually, you know what? I do want near black, so I think I'm gonna go for walnut. Walnut and blackened, being in the same triad, are very similar pigments. As you can tell, black and brown just has a bit more oxide, and walnut has a bit more high solid black. So walnut is a warm black, essentially. It's probably the closest thing we have to like a Mars black from Artist Paints. But as you can see, if you look at our lovely hair, it does have dark rims around the ears. And also a little dark nose. So we want the little dark nose and dark rims around the eyes. So we will go in and add some dark coloration. Oh dear. Alrighty. So we will mix 4 drops of this, and we're going to go 2 to 1. With a more transparent color, you would want to probably go 4 to 1, like if you were using brown liner for this. But since we're using walnut and it's very high coverage, we can kind of treat it like pure white, and my beginning mix is always a 2 to 1 paint to water. With very high coverage paints, my starting tends to be a 2 to 1 because I like the way that thinned paint works. Like, I like the way it comes off the brush. I like what I can do with it. And so if I can work with a thinner color and still have it cover, I will do so. So pretty much the answer to how much do you thin your paint, Anne, is as much as I can. As much as I can get away with. And let's grab a Da Vinci. I'm a free Anne this week, guys. Like, David's going on a ski trip. He's running off to ski dangerously without me in Utah. So that means that I can workaholic my little heart out in the evenings. Without having my wonderful fiance here to enforce off time. I will probably emerge from the week quite tired, but content at having gotten many things done. So it's worth it. Alrighty. Just doing a little bit of lining here to get her headband to stand out. Since I have this color and walnut makes a fine liner, especially when it's thinned down like this, and I'm going to be working with this color anyway, it makes sense to make the shadow areas, and in a 28, lining is pretty much a very minimalist shadow. Makes sense to make the shadow areas much the same color. All right, so the rims of the ears. Let me see if I can find a good picture of hair ears. I bet they have cool spots on the back of them. Let's see if there are pictures. Hair, ears. Although this might give me, okay, let's see here. It's going to be hard to find a back of an ear. Let's see here. And also it's a name of a fault in dogs, in some breeds of dogs. So yeah, it looks like just dark rims, and I'm looking at pictures here. Dark rims and lighter on the back of the ear. Oh, that hair is sad. Yeah, it looks like it. Looks like dark tips and lighter on the backs of the ears. All right, cool. I can do that. Yeah, and how dark the tips get and how dark the color goes down is all like dependent. Yeah. Okay, cool. That works. And then light insides. So we want to do a line and then we want to blend it in. So we can see on our lovely hair, let me get my base hair picture back. This guy has a dark rim, pretty much starting around here and going up about halfway up the ear. And I like that look, so I'm going to go for it. There's almost no reason to use an ink, Raven. I mean, yeah, you could, but ink is, okay, so there's two reasons ink doesn't necessarily do a better job of lining on 28 millimeter. One, ink is almost always a little bit transparent. It doesn't have coverage like walnut does, but then again, brown liner is also translucent, right? So for a more naturalistic shadow, you could use ink. However, one of the downsides of inks is that they're almost always much shinier than the paint we're using. So that makes your shadows shiny, which is not optimal. I don't know why you'd, unless you just want to have a liner like kind of pre-bottled, I don't know why you'd use ink instead of just mixing up some walnut or brown liner, depending on if you want a very strong shadow or a lighter shadow. I mean, you can, but then you'd have to kind of seal it and make the finish work. Because most, even though things are changing, a lot of matte art products aren't actually matte, not like Master Series. They're actually more of a satin. So they will look shinier. And the last thing you want is your shadows to be shiny. I went away from using inks pretty strongly when one of them kind of wrecked a project for me. But now, I mean, the acrylic inks that you find from Daler-Rowney, I've got my edge on there, you can see it coming on. The acrylic inks you get from Daler-Rowney actually aren't inks, they're just paint washes. Using superfine pigments and a slightly different base. So those inks, if you're using a Daler-Rowney or another quote-unquote acrylic ink, that's just a wash, like a strong wash, pretty much. But if you're using a traditional artist ink, like some of the Pilot artists' inks or Winsor & Newton, I warn you, those are actual inks. They're dyes, and they will bleed if painted over. Yeah, any dark brown will work pretty well Raven Day, so. But yeah, so be careful with inks. Like, check and make sure it's an acrylic ink. If it's an acrylic ink, you should be able to line with it, but you may have to put some sort of finish over the model to seal it, to bring it all in the same shininess. There's not a lot of art products, that are the same matteness as Reaper paint. That's kind of like something I went out purposefully to do, was to make Reaper this matte, because as a art student and, you know, as I used art products when I was a kid, I really hated the fact that they were glossy and I didn't want them to be. So that's why the Reaper paint is as matte as it is that I didn't see anybody else on the market really getting to this level of matte, and it was a level I really wanted. So we looked around until we found a product that would give us that finish without making the paint grainy. All right, so edges. Now I'm going to bring out the back because the black actually is a little wider on the back of the ears. So we're going to bring up the ear tips here to be dark. And when we do this, yes, that's bleed, Karinko. True inks will reactivate when they get wet. That's because they're dyes, they're not pigments. But acrylic inks, quote unquote, is the product name for a set of inks that are not dyes. They're just superfine acrylic pigments. Superfine regular artist pigments in an acrylic base. Yeah, Daler-Rowney, and if the Liquitex acrylic inks, if it's Liquitex acrylic inks, anytime it says acrylic ink, you're fine. Then you're just painting with essentially a strong wash. Because the superfine pigment won't give you quite as much coverage as a larger pigment particle. It'll thin really well, though. I mean, my fiance loves to loves to use the Daler Brownies to intensify things. He uses like the Scarlet and Vermilion inks a lot. And it works fine. They don't reactivate because they're acrylic inks. But look out if you have, like I used to have a bunch of the Winsor & Newton artist inks, and they were very much traditional inks. They were dyes. So I ruined a model that I cared about with them, and so I was very unhappy. And I pretty much swore off inks after that. So I'm going to give him black-tipped, or her black-tipped ears. And the brush stroke I'm using here, I'm actually leaving some brush strokes on purpose, because this is the way the fur grows. It's going to grow out from the bottom of the ear. It's coming from, growing from the rest of the head, and it's going to grow kind of in a fan shape. So it's going to come up the back of the ear, and then it's going to spread out that way and spread out that way. So it's kind of a fan of hairs as it goes up here. And so that's what I'm doing with these brush strokes, is I am making these brush strokes to the side, and then as I get to the top of the ear, it's more straight up, and then on this side it's on this. And as you paint hair texture, there's usually kind of a cowlick or a more of a straight line of hair down the middle, and then it spreads out. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm purposefully leaving brush strokes, and I'm going to make the black on the back of the ears bigger than I actually necessarily want it, because as I bring in my highlights, I'm going to be brushing over this walnut, and I want some of it to still be here. So you may paint your bunny however you like. For me, when I have an anthropomorphic animal especially, I think for me it's just an opportunity to do a really naturalistic color scheme on it and not cartoon, to make it really look like one of the denizens of the animal world it belongs to. But I can totally see how various cartoon characters may be an obvious fit. So making that a little bit darker and bigger an area. And I don't need to get my brush strokes perfect. I just need them to be roughly the right direction. I can always correct as I come in with the lighter color. Hey, Lady Nim, thank you. 7 months, lucky number. Yeah, you'd have to do a bit of sculpting there. I mean, you could. Then she's definitely a rabbit folk and not a harefolk. Because I don't think that the lop-eared trait is really I believe it's a domesticated trait. Genetically speaking. Of course, you can do anything you want. It's your mini. Maybe there's a world of lop-eared hares in your fantasy world. Alrighty. So just do your best you can when you get areas that are like really close together. Just try to get something in there. I decided I'm going to do a bit of a dark shadow down the inside here, because these ears are so close together. I might as well. So I got a bit of a dark rim going down on both sides now. You may not be able to get your hair brush stroke exactly right there, and that's fine. Like I said, you can always clean it up as you come back in with your lighter colors. So just take up a little bit more area with your dark than you think you're going to. Alrighty, that's pretty good. I'm going to give her a bit of a shadow under her hair back here. Her hair. Ha 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 ha. She does have a cute little hairdo. I mixed a little bit of my base color with the walnut to get the shadow. I haven't decided really what what color her actual, like, kind of human style hair is here. We can make it something different if we wanted. We'll see what works. Yeah, the cats were not impressed with a rabbit invading their area, I bet. Tell them they should feel like, they should have told them that they should feel lucky that you didn't have a ferret. Cats are even less entertained. In my experience. Alrighty. Now I'm gonna, well, I've got this walnut out. I'm gonna definitely gonna line the fingers, the hands, the feet. Remember that she has a little dark nose, and I'm also gonna line her eye rims because the eyes are also dark around them. She's a great model. She's got such nice big eyes. They'll be easy to paint. It's easy to bring in that expression on them. I can again mix this with a little bit of my base coat, mix this walnut with my base coat. I can kind of hit the shadow underneath this brow to darken the area, give her a little bit deeper eye sockets. Also line kind of the sides of the nose. But this again is a mixture of our base coat and walnut, so it's not pure walnut. Just creating a shadow essentially to each side of the nose where it dips down. Helps define the face. Christina's done a great job here sculpting a face that has humanish features but is still very rabbit. Another person who's great at this, of course, is Julie Guthrie. She does really good animal faces and gives them the expression you'd expect of a humanoid PC, and I think she's one of the best at that too, but Christina's done a great job here with this. So using the walnut, remember the hair has a little black nose, kind of shaped like a chevron. Yeah, Danger Slinky, exactly. Yeah, they're lovely animals. They are Danger Slinkies. They also make me sneeze more than dogs do, so I decided the Danger Slinky was not for me. So I'm going to line the mouth as well. And if I recall correctly, she also has, if we're going by our photo hair, there's a little bit of a dark shadow going down from the nose as well. So I'll grab I'm going to mix again a little bit of my base coat into my walnut for that. I don't want it to go like super dark. But just a little bit of a dark line there, a dark shadow. Going down from the nose to the mouth. I got to get that other eye. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's what ferrets were made to do, right? At least domesticated ones. All right, I'm keeping the black base in frame just because she's so dark, and keeping the black here lets you guys see the details a little bit more. Got a little bit big, a little bit outside of the socket on this side, so I can fix that. Easy touch up at this point. Can try to bring in my brush with some water on it and see if I can just scrub it off. Or if I have to, I can just retouch up with my base coat. It's the great thing about working with this now. If you're going to do your lining, this is a good stage to do it at. If you try to do lining after you have a lot more highlights up, it can be fraught with peril unless you're doing something like lining around the neck of the dress here. Then I would say you could finish out the rest of this and then do that. Just because you can always err on the side of the unpainted area at that point. Yeah, that's true of a lot of animals. I mean, coyotes and wolves are the same way. They've got lighter underbellies and darker top lines. So it makes it challenging to paint them. If you're going to try to do them very naturalistically. Pretty sure that if we just went with the actual bunny color scheme, that this bunny would have dark hair. Since, as you point out, the hair has a dark back. So probably that would translate. So I'll do that line there just to get it down there. I really do like ferrets. I think they're adorable and I love their antics, but probably more trouble than I want in the house at this point. Oh, that's part of a bag. Almost, I painted it as if it was a finger because it looked like it, but now I realize that's part of a bag and she only has 3 fingers. So that's okay. We can rescue that. We just got a line around it so that I can remember that this is actually a bag and not another finger. When I'm painting in sections, I often will do this way. I will start with the shadow, I will line after that, and then I will start bringing everything up. It does depend on what exactly I'm painting. As with some colors, like blues, I definitely start in the middle and go down and up, and I tend to do the same thing with greens and purples. I will also do it with skin tones. I used to paint skin tones dark to light, but since then I've gotten a little bit more exacting in how I'm adding additional shadows to skin tones. So probably the only true dark to light I'll do right now is if I have a very, very dark African skin tone. Then I'll definitely do dark to light. But otherwise I tend to do kind of a mid-dark, then go down a level, then go up. And that's kind of what this is, right? We've started with a slightly dark base color, so it's a mid-dark, what I call it. And then we're just taking it down a little bit and then bringing it up. Because as we highlight is where we're going to bring out all the details. So is that a tail? It is a tail, isn't it? Yes, it looked like a pouch. And now you've brought my attention to the fact that it is actually a tail, but it's a very stylized tail. Thanks for the catch, Brigala. I haven't actually looked at one painted from the back, so, and I missed a mold line there too, or a little bit of flash. So yes, if this little poof is actually a tail, then we have to paint it. I probably would have come to that and gone, oh dang. So you saved me an oh dang moment in the future. Just goes to show that even people with my level of experience regularly miss stuff like that. Which means y'all don't have to feel bad if it happens to you. Although, truthfully, this will probably be a lighter color. I think we're going to do bright colors on her. We'll see how saturated I can bring up the fur and that'll determine how bright our colors go. Yeah, it is definitely not the most humane way to hunt rabbits. Probably not cruel to the ferrets, because that's kind of what they do. Oh, I got a little bit of a dark tip up here. I forgot to put so much dark on this tip up here, so we'll go in and touch that up. Well, I'm thinking that's the underside of her tail, because she's got it flipped up, and the underside of animals tends to be lighter, even if the top side is darker. So that's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm thinking lighter. Because I think even our friend, let me see, does the hare have his tail showing, or her tail? Can't. Actually, I see a little white tuft down there, so that could be a lighter tail. Let me see. Let's see if I can get a good shot. Well, that's a black-tailed jackrabbit, so that one definitely is not a, does not have a white tail. So yeah, I think I could go either way with it. Like, this guy is a black-tailed jackrabbit and has, see the dark on the back, and the underside is lighter. Not quite up to white here, but he has a creamy underbelly too. That's a cool one, just because the markings around the face are so distinct. So that would be a really cool way to paint this model as well, with the gray and all these lighter markings. That would be a really cool one. But yeah, I think this one has a paler tail. At least on the underside, if she's got it flipped up, I feel like she does. People have never really hunted rabbits without cruelty. I mean, probably the least cruel way to get a rabbit is via a gun, right? So, because snares certainly were not, humane. Traps and snares. But then, in the olden days, people were just trying to get food. Doing a shadow on the underside of the arm here. Again, doing a bit of a mix of my walnut with my rich leather mix. Technically, her forearms are a little bit lighter, but on the underside. Yeah, not sure, Cornico. Not. Robin, I had great connection earlier. Don't know what it is now. Yeah, but the big ears, yeah. For heat dissipation makes sense. Big translucent ears. Yeah, I really like that gray color scheme. Just goes to show that there's a lot of cool patterns on even like rabbits in the wild that you could play with. I like the light markings around the eyes of that hare, the black-tailed jackrabbit. It's doing our lining around the hand. See how much that makes the details stand out. This is one of the biggest things I noticed with beginning painters, is that they won't, even if they line the rest of the model, like as they're becoming an intermediate painter, they won't line the fingers, because it will feel maybe too artificial. But in reality, it helps those little details stand out. And then if you want to minimize it, You gotta keep it there. You can make it a little lighter by applying some paint a little bit over the top of it. But you always want that lining on the fingers in 28 mil, including with pale skin tones. It's just with paler skin tones, often I'll say use brown liner instead of walnut because you don't want this solid dark line. You want something that's a little more subtle with a pale skin tone. Yeah, your hairs have fuzzy ears, don't they, Kerniko? Like they're a lot furrier. Just goes to show there's a lot of different ways that you can, a lot of variety in the animal kingdom that you can pull from when you're painting something like this. Got that lining around the sleeve as well. It looks a little messy, you know, when you start, but as you go and as you bring in highlights, you clean that up. Projects are always going to look a little messy. So I have to say that one of our local painters, AJ, came to the house yesterday for Paint Club, and he works only in oils, guys, on miniatures. And that means all miniatures, including 28s. And his style is very different from Wapple's, so it was very interesting to have him over. Makes me think I might have to whip out my water-soluble oils and see what I can do. He uses real non-water soluble oils, which makes me go ee. Yeah, Rogue Shadow Wood. It's a dark red brown. I have it here on my plate, my expanded plate. We'll just call this entire desk my plate. So as far as I know, David still hasn't figured out that I'm painting that forest demon for him. Like he was trying to guess. Like after I told him not to watch the stream, he was like, "Is it this one? Is it that one?" And he just totally didn't think of it. So I think maybe he might still be surprised. Either he's going to say, "Oh, of course," you know, but still surprised. So. Seriously, yeah, they've been around for a while, and a traditional oil painter will probably turn up their nose and go, "Oh, well, they're not quite like real oils." And, you know, personally, I don't care. I never want to see solvents again. So what Winsor & Newton's lab did, and keep in mind that Winsor & Newton's been making paints since the freaking, 1800s for artists. So they have a lot of technology, and they have a lot of labs, and, you know, they really have worked at it for a long time. So essentially what they did is they figured out a way to trick the oil molecule into interacting with water, into liking water. They made oil like water. Is this insane or not? But it is. It works. So that's why I picked them up, because I did oils in art school and I loved oils, but I hated the solvents. I hated turpentine, I hated the mineral spirits, and I hated what it did to brushes. So I decided that if I ever used oils again, I was going to use these water-soluble ones. I messed around with them a little bit while I was at Reaper, just a tiny bit. But I never really got, to the point where I was, wanting to put them on a figure. So I might mess around with them a little bit more. I might have to start something. Because one thing that AJ pointed out is that you don't have to have them fully dry to work over them. You just have to have them set enough to paint over them. And if you use a light touch and you're using a softer brush, then you can paint over what you've done, and add to it without seriously scraping up your first paint. And it didn't, I think he said he just lets it sit he only has to let it sit for about a day, which is really doable. He says he often lets it sit for a lot longer, just because he doesn't have a lot of time to paint. So often it's more like 3 or 4 days. But yeah, he's not applying the paint like thick and all over the place like Wobble either. It's very interesting. I might have to try. He's inspired me. He's made it seem like maybe oils are not going to be monstrous and messy to work with. I'm sure this is a trap, but thanks, AJ. They are not inks. No. They are like the Chimera colors. If you're talking to anybody else, clears are single pigment colors in a clear base. So they are not made to have a lot of coverage. But, and as far as like, if the people who ask you that, Twisted Oma, are asking if they can use them like inks to intensify colors, yes, but they're going to have to thin them first. Because they are still paint. They are not fluid like inks. But one of the things people do with inks is like they'll use a red ink, like David does this. He'll glaze with a crimson or a vermilion acrylic ink over the top of colors as reds to intensify them. And that is absolutely doable with clear red, and I do it like regularly. Yeah. Yeah, I think he knows that I would yell at him if he found me. I pretty much looked at him. I'm like, if you want to watch it, you can. You'll just ruin your surprise. If you want to ruin your surprise, go for it. Like, there's just a point, like, where I'm like, if he's going to ruin his surprise, he's going to ruin it. I don't care. I just want to get the darn thing done. I'm planning to put a lot of mileage in on it this week while he's gone because I can work on it. When he's not obviously in the room. So my evening painting session can switch over. There we go. So I got her little toesies lined. Everything is, see how everything is crisply standing out now. Now I think I've just got to check I got the back of both legs here. That's a little not as solid a line as I would like. So when somebody asks you that question, Twisted Oma, it's like important to ask, well, how are you using it? Like, people use inks for different things. And so it's useful to know, like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, what are you doing with your ink? What are you trying to get out of that ink? And if the answer is, oh, well, I use it to make my colors more intense, then absolutely clears can be used that way. I'm still not totally convinced on oils for minis just because, like, I love my precision with the, oh, I blorfed. Get some water, blop it right out. Because I like my control with my acrylics. And I do like being able to, like, finish a section in a day. And you can't do that. Like, you have to, like, put down your paint, your initial blend, and then you have to let it sit for a day before you can go back in and add highlights and further shadows, and then you have to let that sit for a day. And I think that would frustrate me because I like to, like, get going on a section and then really add to it and get it close to done. So that, I think, with oils is just, like, is going to be a frustration point for me. And that's why the people who work with oils, typically, many of them will have several models going at the same time, right? Like as many as 6 or 7 or 8, so that they always have something that they can be working on while the other pieces are drying. Yeah, I'd have to, I don't know. I'm going to try it, but he got me a significant step closer to trying it. Let's put it that way. Alrighty, got our tail lined. Excellent. And I do need a hard line. I put a shadow under the hair, but I do need a line down there. And then we will proceed with our evil plan. Actually, I do need to add some more dark shadows up here. And I probably want to darken in her hair if I'm going to make it dark. So I may use black and brown for that, or I may mix my previous colors. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll get out some black and brown. I need to make a shadow on the crown of her head because the hair has boop, boop. The hair has a dark forehead, and that's going to go over to the back of his head and go down the back. Now, obviously, she's wearing clothes, so we won't see it on the back. He's got a little bit, well, that's richer color. That's not as dark, but that's a lot richer down there on his haunch. So we shall see. And he's got a dark shadow here behind his shoulder or behind his arm that we're also not going to see on this model. So mostly it's going to be the top of the head and the back of the head. And that's why I say that she's probably a brunette, because the dark hair here would go into here. So we can do that. We can go that way. But I'll probably take her brunette up blonde a lot like I did Juliana's, the herbalist we did a while ago, because that's the way the rest of her fur is probably going to go. Alrighty. Think we are good. Excellent. All right. Let's get that crown of her head done. Hey, Ron. I am well. It's a new week. It's just a different way to paint. You do get a great intensity and clarity of color declearment because the oil binder tends to make all the colors look richer. It's the finish of the thing. Which is another thing I'd have to get used to because there is a sheen to oils for sure. You can underpaint with acrylics. You can zenith prime and use oils to great effect because the zenith priming will, because the oils are semi-translucent, you have to add white for coverage, or other coverage colors for coverage. So you can work with zenith probably a little easier. It is... The thing that he said that impressed on me was that he struggled a lot with acrylics. And when he went to oils, everything went easier for him. And he knows, we all know people where it's the opposite. But some people's styles are just maybe going to gravitate toward oils because you can blend them so much easier. Like he told me that he always had trouble blending with layering and that it took so long and he got very frustrated. And he found blending much easier with oils, so he was able to go a little faster in that way, even though the overall painting process slowed down because you have to wait for it to dry. So it is merely a different way to do things. The only thing that makes me always kind of go back to thinking about it is because in school, I far preferred oils to acrylics. And that makes me wonder... what I could do with it now. If I would get frustrated with it because this is so much smaller than I used to work, or if it would be okay. It's been good today, Grey Wolf. I think they heard my threats carrying over the ether. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, everything's a different way to paint. Like, there isn't a tool that, it's not like you can do almost anything with anything. If you're good enough at it. Like, if you choose to paint with oils, you can get to the point where you can do fine details like with acrylics. If you choose to paint in acrylics, you can get to the point where you can spot wet blend like I do, and get the blends that you could get with oils just faster. But it just takes practice. So it's like, it comes back to your style and where you hit your frustration points. And then making a decision when you hit those frustration points, say, is there a tool that would make this part of painting easier for me, but that would still let me do all the things that can I still do the things that make me happy with the hobby that aren't frustration points. So I think part of this is determining how you get frustrated with the hobby and finding a tool that helps you get past that or removes that frustration. That said, as always, you guys know I tell you should try everything, try a little bit of everything. So if I'm going to walk the talk, that means I have to whip out the oils and try a figure. I was going to do a bust, but now I'm wondering, but I probably should do the bust. Alrighty, let's see here. Let's grab some of our base coat, some of our walnut. I'm going to do kind of a half and half mix here. Let's see here. Get my black base in here. But you can kind of see, there you go. So it's about a half and half mix of the walnut. I have to add a little bit more of this. I do want that dark shadow on her forehead, but I just don't want it to be like just a wedge. I want to blend it in a little. So I'm making a color that's kind of halfway between these two colors, but still dark enough to show up. There we are. I like that, so we'll work with that. And this is for her base coat on her hair. Actually, this is a color that's a lot like the muddy soil color I was just saying. So a little bit of rich leather with a touch of off-white should give you a lot like muddy soil. Hey, Pendrake, what's up? But yeah, I'm still a little bit like trepidatious about what, like I'm going to have to get a separate set of brushes if I decide to do oils, I think. Because I'm going to want to kind of keep track of how much the oils affect the brushes and impact the wear on them. Because they certainly can, like traditional oils definitely will strip the moisture out of your hair and cause faster degeneration and breakage on some natural hairs. So I would get a separate set of brushes, I think, to utilize with oils. Just so I can kind of see, see if it really does, if the water-soluble ones impact the same way. So we've got a little bit of a shadow there on her forehead from this color there. You can see it. It's a little bit subtle, but I can grab a little bit of my walnut and make it a little darker in the middle. It's more like blended. So she's got kind of a darker chevron on her head. There we go. I want to look at my photo reference because I think, yeah, it would probably extend a little bit down her nose. She does have lighter eye markings. There says lighter eye markings, so I think I'm going to extend it like as far as I can. I'm going to get a little bit more water in this. Want to be able to make sure I can get a good fine brush stroke and manipulate the paint. And counterintuitively, the more you thin your paint, the more you can control it. You just need to make sure you've got a very small load of it on your brush. The one true brush, yeah. Well, James is his own person. Actually, he is the reason. I know a lot of people he inspires to do oils. He did not inspire me to do oils because the way he works is like very, very opposite the way I work. And so it just wasn't appealing to me until I talked to our friend at Paint Club yesterday who uses oils, but he uses oils in a completely different way. And it's a lot more like I use them. Like I would use acrylics. Like it's more my style. And so and this is why it's important actually to take classes from different people, guys, and to watch different streamers and to ask lots of questions, because just like I love watching James Wapple work, but it's just so not not the way I work. And so it kind of was a barrier to me trying oils because it was so not the way I enjoy working. But then I talked to someone else who works with oils and works in a way that's a lot closer to what I do. Then it feels like it opened it up to me. Like suddenly, oh, maybe I can use oils after all, because our friend here is using oils and he's using them a lot like I kind of would want to, like in a way that makes me kind of excited that I feel like I could do this and actually enjoy it. So every teacher is going to have like a different way to tackle something. And no matter how good the teacher and no matter how much you love their work, sometimes the way that they do it is just not going to be it's not going to sound fun to you. And it's not going to sound like, especially if you've been painting for a while. So then it's time to go out and kind of talk to other people and see what other people are doing with that medium or that technique or that idea, to see if somebody is playing with it in a way that really appeals to you and can get you excited about it, right? Because when you start trying a new tool or a new technique, it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be frustrating for me when I pick up oils again after Oh Lord, I don't want to even tell you how many years. Let's say over 25 years of not touching oils. And I know that. And if that's the case, and I know it's going to be the case, then it's super important for me to be excited about it going in. Because that excitement will help power me through the frustration phase until I can start like maybe seeing some interesting effects. All I need to see is a little bit of progress to keep encouraging me at that point. But I need that interest, that really excitement to power through my initial like reticence and maybe even like fear of just trying and wasting a bunch of time playing with a medium that I'm not going to like after all. So keep those things in mind. For sure. Going to bring in a little bit of a shadow underneath your cheeks. Even though those cheeks are probably going to be lighter, there's going to be shadows on the underside of her face here. So I'm going to bring those shadows in. I can always paint over them with a lighter color, but it'll remind me that I need to keep that dark shadow under her chin. And that will help bring her whole face out. But yeah, James is and that's that chaos that James paints with. It comes from confidence. It comes from an extreme confidence in his medium and his abilities and his experience, right? He's worked with this stuff so much that he can just like throw himself at it with ultimate freedom and abandon, like Alfonso does, talking about how keep everything light, keep everything fun and light and playful and emotive. And you can do that when you have a great deal of comfort and confidence in your medium, or if you just decide to be reckless and you're willing to try and fail until you make it. Like, there's two ways to tackle that, right? You can be the newbie who's like, I'm just going to do it and to heck with it, and learn that way. Or you get that sort of wildness you get from confidence and experience. But you can't get that confidence and experience unless you try. James has just painted in oils for so many years that he knows what they're going to do. He is confident in his mediums. And even if he gets himself into a corner, he knows how to get out of it. Or he knows that he can't get out of it, right? And he's willing to let it go. So, or at least let it go until he can tackle it again. James is great because he just doesn't stress about it. He just does. He just does it. He executes. That is the power of James Wapple. Right, see, there you go, Brigala. So yeah, try to find somebody who works with oils that, in a way that seems accessible to you and the way you paint, that makes you believe that, yeah, I could do this. Like, this could work for me, right? Because let's face it, oil paints are not cheap, and investing in them is definitely an investment. And so you don't want to have, like, I bought these water-soluble oils years ago, decades ago. They're still good because tube paint. But it's been decades and I haven't touched them, right? Because I never got to the point where it seemed accessible. And the last thing you want is to spend a bunch of money on a medium that you then never touch. So find a way, if you want to try something, find somebody or something that seems to make it more accessible to you. All right, so you can see that she got dark shadow on her forehead. I blacked in that. I don't think I need any dark shadows elsewhere. I might actually bring in a little bit of blending back here on her ears, although these are typically markings, and so they typically don't have a lot of blended area. But I'll bring my darks down just a little bit more. I like these dark tips on her ears back here, so extending them doesn't do anything bad to me. I'm using my shadow color to extend them rather than the walnut itself. So yeah, perhaps I will have to dig out some new brushes and earmark them for oils. Put a bit of, I like to just take a strip of painter's tape and wrap it around the handle to show me, hey, this is for this and not for that. Any reminder like that. I've got hot pink duct tape too. That would work. No, back in the days, Twisted Oma, if you look at the Dutch masters, they just painted NMM. They use gold foil though sometimes. Like, that was the shortcut, was to use actual gold foil in your painting. Yeah, the old masters, like, yeah, Vermeer is one of the Dutch masters. I didn't even see that, and I was like, oh, you gotta look at the Dutch masters. Oh, you already are. Yeah, their NMM was amazing. And the glass, like, the way they could portray glass. You've got this, like, portrait that's pretty stilted, and, like, maybe the perspective seems a little wonky, but then you look at the freaking goblet on the table, and it's like, holy crap, you could just reach in and pick that thing up. They were good. They were very, very good. Oh yeah, I was going to do the back of the head. So once again, I'm going to be conscious of the way the hair grows, and it's going to grow mostly top to bottom, just like the hair is growing down here, because it's going to be coming out from between the ears, and it's going to be spreading out again. Because remember, it grows up in this direction over the ear, right? So it's going to be going in that direction, and then it's going to be going in this direction. So you can see those little brush strokes there. And I'm going to block it in. And even, I don't have to keep my brush in this direction, but I like to do it so that if any brush strokes do show up, I can, let's see, there we go. Then I can just if any brush strokes show up, they are at least going in the direction the hair is growing, so they make sense. I may blend in a lot of it. I may not. At this point, I don't know. So just to be safe, I keep all my brush strokes going in the direction the hair would grow. And then I'm going to block in the hair here. Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing about being a mini painter, right? Is that as you learn more and more of these techniques, it actually gives you an appreciation for some of that, like Renaissance and afterwards art, where, you look at it and for the first time, like, maybe you even didn't even like looking at art before, but now you can look at these paintings and you can get a sense of somebody's skill set, right? And some of the techniques that they may have used. And it enhances your appreciation of it. Because you do art, and so you get it more. Like, that definitely happened to me. As I got better at art, I got a better appreciation when we would go to art museums. I would look at a piece, and I'd be like, oh man, the technique on that is just so good. And you just get more of an appreciation for it. So I feel like that's one of the awesome and often unsung benefits of getting into this hobby. Is that it actually gives you an appreciation for other art. D&D 5e question. Variant tieflings are in Sword Coast Adventures. Are they in any other book? Good question. I'm trying to remember. Because they just give a few origins for tieflings in the main book, right? So... does anyone know? I have so many tieflings to paint that I really should pay attention to this answer. Like, I can't remember. Remind me, guys, who this one comes from, if you know. 3D print people. 3D print people. Who makes this tiefling druid? Who makes her? The one with all the braids. Do you remember? She's got a ferret. And I forgot who makes her. MTOF. I don't know all the abbreviations for all the different books. All right, I'm going to mix up a lighter color now, guys, to start working on some other aspects of her. And I'm going to just go up to straight rich leather at this point and add a little white. And this is going to give us a very golden color. Oh, Invictus? I thought David Clearman would have an idea, but maybe he's not watching anymore. Here's the rest of it, or here's more of the body of it. So here's her Here's her torso. And she's got a ferret on her arm. But she's a lovely tiefling. You're looking? I found her on Etsy, and I don't remember the 3D company, the sculptor that did her. And I realized that I want to maybe use her for some stuff, and I want to know so I can give, if I ever use her on a Twitch or if I do work in progresses on Instagram, I always want to give cred, right? So, hey, speaking of the Wapple and what appears, hey there, Kathy. We were just talking about oil painting. We were talking about your husband's descent into chaos every time he paints and how it actually scares me. But yeah, how are you? Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah, no, you're fine. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything has very... Is it White Werewolf Tavern? Really? They do that one too? Yeah, I do love their stuff. I mean, for sure. Okay, well, that's cool. That makes it easy. I don't even have to memorize a new name. I'll go look it up and see if I can find it. But based on that should be easier. Oh, okay, White Werewolf. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Yeah, Lasika. Thank you. Yeah, they're lovely. Their sculpts are lovely. Alrighty, so lighter gold color. So we're using rich leather because remember we've been working with a rich leather mixed with black and brown. There we can see our colors a little bit better if I put the evil black base in there. There we go. So then that's rich leather with black and brown in it. And we swapped over to more of a walnut, which is a very close cousin of black and brown. And now to bring up our highlights on the Harefolk, we're going to go rich leather and bleached linen, actually. For animals, I often like to use an off-white instead of pure white because I like a more organic look. Yeah, the Tiefling Druid is beautiful. And her ferret, let me see if I can find the cute little ferret. Where's the cute ferret? Cute ferret, where are you? Like, I have all this stuff. Oh, there he is. Hold on. He was sitting in here. I have all of her hands and everything. So she has a cute little ferret on her outstretched arm, and he's adorable. So we were just talking about ferrets earlier, guys. So here you go. Here is one of the most adorable ferrets I've seen yet. So those of you who like ferrets and tieflings should go find that. It is a lovely bust. It's got so much hair, but I have an idea how I want to paint that hair, so that's always nice. Yeah, so there you go. There you are, ferret friends. Those who are friends of ferrets can now get themselves a beautiful bust with too much hair and also a ferret. All right, so let's go 2-to-1 on this. I need thinner paint for this because I want the brush strokes again to be thin and to suggest fur. Oh, and we need to move this back in so you guys can actually see her. She's so dark right now. Where is my mixing brush? There it is. Yeah, there's a lot of nice minis out there. So many nice minis nowadays. Ooh, but guys, when I finish David's present, his Christmas present, because his is late for me and mine is late for him because, you know, people, things. When I finish this, you guys see, some of you were at my stream, but we got some of the butterflies and flowers kind of bringing in. But when I finish this, I can buy myself a new mini, right? Because it's finish 2 minis and buy a new mini. So I'm excited. Because I know exactly what mini I want. Like I've already been cruising the internet, finding a new mini. And it is kind of redundant because I'm going to finish kind of a satyr type model and buy another one. She's getting there. She's getting there. Yeah, I'm very, very excited. Very, very pleased. Very pleased with Ms. Dragon Lady. She's pretty cool. I still haven't decided entirely on the color of the rose or the flowers. So that's the next step, is to figure that out. If I can get those blocked in and the leaves blocked in before David gets back, it should be almost done. Finish 2x1. We have to actually finish. It will eventually mean that you paint all your models. Yeah, that's the she's a forest spirit, the one that I showed you guys, the bust. David, my present for David. Because he told me I needed to paint something faster, so she's actually quite fast for me. Although I did slow down a lot in painting those tiny flowers and butterflies. All right, so now I need to look. So our hair Does have a golden color on his or her nose and a more reddish color coming down from the eyes. Do you guys see that reddish color? So that I can get with ruddy leather probably, or oxide brown. That would be, those are the colors that are really good for getting reddish tones in the coats of animals. So when we see these reddish, really reddish brown hints and you want to capture these, using just a little glaze of like oxide brown, which is a new Kickstarter color, or ruddy leather, which has been out forever and is 9109. Those are great animal colors. You live in, yeah, well, I can tell from your, I mean, when are you going to put in a sub basement now, D. Clearman? You're going to fill up your basement and you're going to like, you know, you're going to have to keep building down. Given your collection, you are immortal. Uh-huh. I actually wish to lessen the load upon my soul of unfinished miniatures, and so I've made that rule for myself this year. Plus, I really do want to just like, it's hard for me because I do love to paint to a high level, and it's really hard for me to just relax and paint something and not, and understand that it doesn't need to be the best thing. Sorry, forgot my base. It doesn't need to be the best thing in the world, and it can be just a solid mini, and I could still be happy with it, right? So it's really hard for me. Building down gets expensive, really, especially in Texas, where they often won't let you have basements because the earth is so shifty over the shale. Eventually, you could put your vampire coffin down there too. Derek with the with the feedback. Not only is Derek great for miniatures feedback, D. Clearman, but, he also is great for, dealing with your eventual and inevitable immortality. But, I mean, if you're like miniature painter immortal, then you probably, like, have to eat paint instead of blood, right? Like, I don't know how we can extrapolate this. I don't know what a mini painter vampire, like, really, like, how you get that. How you deal with that. What are your coping mechanisms? All right, get that little eyelid on there. So we're putting on our first layer of highlight, and we want to make everything show up a little better. I am going to get in focus a little bit better. I feel like we could get a little tighter. There we go. All right, there we are. So I'm putting in just little hints of lighter color. You can see where I'm working them into this darker fur. Live off paint water instead of blood. That makes sense. Paint water. That actually explains why cats always want to drink paint water. They're going for the immortality. Oh, that explains so much. There. So little bits, and then I want a little bit lighter down here at her base of her nose. I'm going to build up this color. So because it's a little transparent, I don't even need to go for a highlight. I just need to build up another layer of the color I'm working with. And that's how I often like to do highlights. I don't like to mix a ton of intermediate tones. I just like to mix a highlight color that's a lot different. My base color is here, my highlight is here. You can see how different they are. Normally, if you're painting and you're maybe a newbie or a beginner, I would say, well, definitely do a 50-50 mix of these. But as you get better, you can just thin this down to the point where you can see it's somewhat transparent, and you can just build up layers of this over the top of this. One of the reasons this is going to work is that I want fur texture. So I'm not trying to make a smooth blend. I'm trying to actually do a textured blend. And that's a lot easier. Looks at cat suspiciously. Yeah, right. Yeah, Miss Dimp, you and I together. Oh, you're wrong about variant tieflings. Tasha's has origin. Okay. There we go. So there you go, Bull. Crows and Bones has it. Like, people are helping you. But yeah, it's a big problem for me. Because I want to be proud of my work, but sometimes I go, like, I've just got so many miniatures, and I just want to put a good job on them. Like, I went too far with the halfling. She turned out like the halfling assassin. Like, I definitely let that get away from me to the point where I really almost hated it and didn't finish it because I really wanted to put a simple job on it. and I felt like I couldn't. So notice the really light fur. All this light fur. There's light fur a little bit here at the end of the nose, and then there's a little ring of lighter fur here around the nose itself and on the muzzle up here at front. And then it gets a little darker as it goes back, right? So this lighter fur is going to be really nice because it's going to bring out the details around the nose and the mouth. So we'll do that. And this is not even the lightest we're going to go. We will go lighter than this. Oh, yeah. So he learned his lesson in Nomad Zeke. He decided that the water was not going to make him immortal. It was going to try to kill him. So you're lucky. But yeah, so my great challenge now is to just take some of these busts and just paint them. Like the David present, this lady, like she's not perfect. You can see brush strokes, you can see a lot of faults on her, but she also has some really good features. So I think I'll be happy with her, like not doing her to like competition level. She doesn't need to be competition level. Jumped on the top of the fish tank. Oh no, except not on top. Oh no, kitty. I had to be careful about that when I had tanks because I had salt water and I had a lionfish. A cat getting stung with the lionfish by the lionfish would not have been good. So I'm going to put in a lighter rim under the eye. I'm going to start by just kind of etching a lighter line too around the nose. And I'm going to bring that out a bit. She definitely has a muzzle sculpted here. So she has that little poof in the fur, little round area on her face, which is like very animal. Yeah, we checked and hopefully we'll be getting our bard sung at some point in the next 4 or 5 months. So once we get that board game, we'll have a lot of very pretty minis to put faster paint jobs on. It'll be a nice break. But I mean, even some of my nicer busts and 75 millimeters, I would like to just get paint on them. Just enough that I like them. Like for example, the jobs I do on the Reaper minis for this stream, like they're not competition level, but they're solid. They're good models. I enjoy them. And that's kind of what I need to learn to do with my bigger models, is just to put enough work on them that I enjoy them and not see we can start seeing all that light area above the eyes for the markings, and then on the side of the muzzle. Hello, Rise of Mages. But yeah, because I want to get some of these finished. Like, more and more, it's like when I see a new model, I'm just like, but you haven't painted the ones you have. I'm just like, I just think about all the other beautiful models I have, and then I kind of like go, if I get that model, I'm just going to feel even more like I have a giant pile of work sitting here. So I'm fighting the psychological weight of my miniatures collection at this point, and it's making me happy to commit to this, paint 2, and then buy 1. Because I don't have that many models sitting around anymore. I mean, not compared to somebody who's a true collector, like D. Clearman in the chat. I tried to lighten up my collection before I moved because I was moving so much there for a while. So if I commit to a 2-to-1, I'm going to see very significant progress this year, which is awesome. Yeah, my cat tried to follow me into the shower once too. He kept thinking he was going to like the water, but well, okay, I used to have 2 entire closets full. Dismissed. But now I have I would say I have 2 boxes of, I really want to paint this. Like, and by boxes, I mean the typical moving size box, like the 11 by 13 by whatever box from Home Depot. So I've got 2 boxes of, oh, I really want to paint this. And then I've got 1 box of, really not now. And then I've got a couple, like 1 box of big resin and dragons. So that's like only a few models. And then another another box of old confrontation minis, which is a line I still love. And those are the minis that like kind of, I gave away or sold a lot of my confrontation, gave away most of it. And, I just kept the ones I really, really still thought there might be a chance that I would paint. So, and that's kind of what I've got. I don't have for me, 5 or 6 boxes is low. Especially you gotta understand that a lot of what I kept, and when I moved from Reaper, I actually got rid of a lot of my older miniatures. And a lot of what I kept are big. So we're talking busts. So when you're talking that size, a box, you're really not talking that many models, not compared to like a Bones Kickstarter, right? Yeah, it's down to a 3-digit number. Yes, definitely. I should actually, well, I shouldn't count it. I would be scared. Okay. Bones, stone golem with black marble. Oh boy, whatever your base. Okay, so with marble, always start with the base color that you are like. What is the basic color of the marble? What's the main color? Start around that. And I always wet blend marble. Like I always choose a dark and a light and blend. So if it was like a brown marble, I would start with my brown and probably a cream, and I would marble those together, and then I would add veins and details. But the detailing is always last. For me. Marble is marble can be fun. It depends on the type you've grabbed. Black marble should stay mostly black. Oh no. Right. Yeah, I used to have easily 4 digits of multiple 4 digits of unpainted. But now I feel I just needed to get it to the point, for one thing, I needed to get it to the point where it would fit into David's old apartment, which was, a small, relatively small apartment. And he was already filling a lot of it. So I knew that I needed to downsize. And I wanted to feel like it was attainable. Like, it was starting to fatigue me mentally that I had so many models. Especially because I wasn't painting that much, or I was painting slowly. So that's one of the goals this year. I've been pretty good about painting almost every night. I've had very few 0 nights. And usually if I do have a 0 night, I've at least painted a little during the day. All right, got that. I need to get underneath the eyes is usually lighter. I'm going to double check that on my reference. Yeah, just a little bit. There's a little bit of a lighter edge under that eye. You can see the eyelid. A little bit of a lighter edge. So we'll do that light color, and the outer cheeks are light too. And a little bit of this light color does come down past the cheekbone, which may not be something, yeah, it's something we can do for her actually. Hold on, let's try to do that. So I should have a dark streak then coming down from the eye, kind of. And then I should have a light streak. I do not know Plasma Red. Brilliant Red has a tiny bit of magenta and white in it. I'm not sure Plasma. Ah, yeah. So you have, I see Dysphamist. You have stuff available if someone's looking. Yeah. Yeah, Kickstarter for sure. It's easy to just gift. Mostly I just keep looking at these beautiful like Limbo and Arthurian 75s and going, okay, I need to just put paint on it. So I'm trying to kind of figure out a pattern here based on the hair. So I'm kind of blocking in a little bit of light here and light back here. To try to build that up and make some interesting patterns on her face. You can see those starting to come out there. And it's nice that my color is pretty close to, like when I thin it, it's pretty close to the base coat. So I can work it out. Like I can start pretty subtle with this pattern and work on it. So a pretty kind of golden streak there. A little bit more out here. And we'll see. I had to bring out that fur at the edge of her face too, as it's a little bit different than her hair. So I kind of like that look I've got going on there. Yeah, an entire room of shame. Yeah, that used to be me. All right, so now I like this pattern I've got going on this side of the face. So now I need to duplicate it on the other side. So this shows you, I hope, guys, how if you do spend a little extra time in looking at a photo reference of a real animal, that you can get some really cool ideas for markings and patterns on the face and make it look really cool. Oh, wow. We're at 11:15. Do you go to sleep, Quindy? That's good because we started late, but dang, I have to call it. I have to run it and go to the store. I was like, la, 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 la. I would have just painted till noon. Nobody would have noticed. Oh, dear. Oh, I missed the time check. Oh, got buried by replies. Yeah, there was some serious stuff. So I knew it had to be my error, not Quindy's. Well, this is a good place to stop because we have the side of the face that's starting to come up with a really nice pattern, and then we got the side of the face that's mostly blank, so you can really see the difference that you can make with a few touches. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind going over. I had missed so much time last week, so this is good. Hi, Kiro. Nice. We were hoping I wouldn't notice. Yes. Yeah, right. The next show is going to be going. So, all right. So we did the hair today, and we reinforced her base coat. We added some dark patterns. We figured out like kind of where her darks and lights were. We lined. We talked a lot. We talked about oil painting. Oil painting miniatures. We talked about patterns, about using a photo reference for animals. It's so very important. It can give you some really cool effects. And yeah. So tomorrow we'll be back doing Ogre. Yay! We'll be doing red on Ogre. We'll be working more on that. So we'll be getting his reds blocked in and whatever else really I feel like at this point. We'll do some organic, just working on stuff probably. But yeah, so back to Ogre tomorrow. I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you so much. Yes, 2 p.m. for Rhonda, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.